Shalom, my name is Austin, and you are watching the 144K Shabbat recap on the Kids Action Bible Show. If you're new to our channel, new to our ministry, check out 144kids.org. We would be excited to connect with you there, and everything you need to know about the ministry is there. Other than that, let's dive into this episode.
It's time for the Debar of the Day.
You heard them right. It's time for the Debar of the Day. Let's see what, now Debar just means word. Let's see what the word of the day is. Wow, look at that. The word of the day is yom. It's another word for the actual word day. I'm sorry. Debar means word in Hebrew, but yom means day in Hebrew. So this is the word of the day. If you've been taking notes for the words of the day, yom is the word of the day. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's how you say day in Hebrew. So cool. Hope that helps. Let's get into the study. Come on. Boom. This study is called Spring Feast Moments. I don't know what instrument that is. I can't play instruments. Maybe it's a djembe. Jimbo? Johnny Rockets? Sorry. Today, our video is called Spring Feast Moments. This is what this study is all about. This is what we talked about last Shabbat. Spring Feast Moments. We've talked through the Spring Feast. We've gone through unleavened bread. We've gone through Passover. We've gone through first fruits. We've gone through Shavuot. But there's something else that I feel like that adds another extra little bit of spice and a spicy meatball to the thing. So let's check it out right to now. I'm sorry for that accent. In the first 3 months of spring, which, that's the biblical New Year. The New Year starts in the spring in the ancient calendar. Actually, that's just the only calendar that matters. The New Year doesn't start in January. It starts in the spring, normally around April time. So in the first 3 months of spring, Israel celebrates the feast of YAHUAH. If you don't know what those are, let's recap to see, wake that brain up. So we have the spring feast, which is Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, and Shavuot. Israel will be celebrating these feasts in the spring. We have another set of feasts in the fall that we'll talk about in another video. But this video, we realized that Israel would be celebrating every spring. This is what they're doing. They are lining up for one of these things. But there are some other cool things that happened in Scripture during the spring feast too. Just because the spring feasts were mandated and Israel had to keep these feasts, it didn't mean that everything was always going great or there wasn't things moving around in the background. So it's kind of cool to look through Scripture and see what else was happening in Scripture around the same time. And so when we're celebrating spring feasts, we can connect what we're celebrating to some things that happened in Scripture. Let's try it. Let's look at the first month. Let's look at some of the things that happened in this first month. We know in this first month, we're gearing up for Passover. But let's see, while people were gearing up for Passover, what was going on in some of the lives of people in Scripture? Let's look at the first month. Ooh, this is good. We're going back to Genesis. Wait. Hey, little doggy. This is a dog? You're not a dog. You a deer? I'm covering you up. Okay. No, I'll leave you. I like you, buddy. This is in the first month. This is the first month, and this is the first day of the month. Right here, the verse, you can see it with this little underline thing. This is Genesis chapter 8, verse 13. It says, "And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the first month, which we know is around April time-ish, sometimes March, the first day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark, and look, indeed, the surface of the ground was dry." Wow. So while we're celebrating the biblical New Year, the month of Abib, the first month, you know what also happened in the first month? The waters were drying up from the earth from the flood that the Father sent to wipe out all the wickedness in the world. Boom. What? That's amazing. So when you're celebrating Abib and you're excited about this new month that popped in, hey, we should pay attention to, you know what? You know who was also excited about this? Noah. He was excited to walk around on dry land, right? What else we got? Oh, look at this guy. He's super fast. Don't fall. This also happened. This is the first month on the first day. This scripture comes from Ezra chapter 7, verse 8 through 10. Now, it says, Ezra came to Jerusalem in the 5th month, which was the 7th year of the king. On the first day of the first month, he began his journey from Babylon. And on the first day of the 5th month, he came to Jerusalem, according to the good of his hand, Elohim upon him. So Ezra came, he arrived in Jerusalem on the 5th month, right? But it says here in the green, on the first day of the first month, he began his journey from Babylon. When we're celebrating the first day or the first month of the year, we also got to know that, wow, the water was drying up from the ground when Noah was on the ark. And at the same time, Ezra, he was making the journey from Babylon to Jerusalem. But this is my favorite part of the scripture. For Ezra had prepared his heart to seek the law, the Torah, the instructions of Yah, and to do it and to teach statutes, ordinance in Israel. This is why he was heading to Jerusalem. He was preparing his heart to seek it and also teach people. Let that be the same thing when we take journeys, that we prepare our hearts to seek the Father's instruction and to follow it and to teach others to do the same. That's just beautiful. Chef's a kiss. I gotta stop. I'm sorry. I gotta stop talking like that. Let's keep going. Oh, this is another cool one. This is this you can see down here at the bottom. This is from the book of Esther, chapter 3, verse 12. And so this took place in the first month, but on the 13th day, which is interesting. We're going to talk about why. If you know anything about feast days, you know why the 13th day sounds interesting. But let's read it. Then the king's scribes were called on the 13th day of the first month, and the decree was written according to all that Haman had commanded, to the king's satraps, to the governors who were over each province, to the officials of all the people, to every province according to its script, and to every people in their language. In the name of the king Azarius, it was written and sealed with the king's signet ring. So if you're like, Austin, I read along with you, I don't know what's going on. It's okay. Pay attention. If you remember the story of Esther was a queen in I believe the Persian Empire, but she was an Israelite. She was a Hebrew, and she became queen. But while she became queen, there was a man named Haman. You see it right here. Haman was hating. And he wanted to destroy all of the Hebrews. A lot of it had to do with his history, his family history with the Hebrews, and with Esther's, I believe, uncle, Mordecai. Now, this says on the 13th day of the first month, a decree was written that Haman had commanded. What decree did Haman write and command? He was commanding for the annihilation and the killing of all of the Hebrews and the Israelites. But he did it that's terrible in and of itself, but he did it on the 13th day. Why is that so important? What does the 13th day remind me of? Oh yeah, the next day is Passover. Pesach happens on the 14th day. Haman set a plan and a plot to kill all of the Hebrews, all of the Israelites, the day before Passover. But this is what's so beautiful about this. Mamma mia. That just like the Passover lamb was put there for Israel so that the Father's judgment would pass over Israel and that it would get to the Egyptians. In true Passover fashion, everything that Haman wrote down for Israel and the Hebrews to suffer, him and his family, it passed over Israel again, and him and his family suffered that same fate. Oh my goodness, how amazing is that? So when you're about to celebrate Passover, remember the day before Passover, this is the day that all of Israel would have been lamenting, tearing their clothes. They would have been so scared because a decree was signed this day that would have led to the doom, demise, and the death of Israel and Hebrew and all of Israel as we know it. Wow. Father's good. This is why we gotta look at these spring feast moments. See what I did there? That's where it came from. Let's keep going. Let's take a look at the second month. All right, let's see what the second month has to hold. This is the second month, and this is the first day. Now, Yah spoke to Moshe in the wilderness of Sinai in the tabernacle of meeting on the first day of the second month. Boom. Okay, second month, first day. in the second year after they had come out of the land of Egypt. Wow, they only been out of Egypt for 2 years. It's interesting. He said, take a census of all the congregation of the children of Israel. So this is cool. As we're counting down the days and we're looking at the months of the year, we know that day 1 of month number 2, Israel, the Father sent out a proclamation and said, count my people. I need to see how many are with us. Who's with us? I want to make sure everyone's accounted for. That's super cool. When you see day 2 of the second month come around, know that this was the same day that the Father was asking Moshe to count all of Israel. And this is in Numbers chapter 1, verse 1. Remember, you can find the verse with this little green squiggly line thing over there. All right, check this one out. This is cool. This is the second day. This is day 2 in the second month. Now, this is about King Solomon. Now, King Solomon began to build the house of Yah at Jerusalem on Mount Moriah. This is the mountain where Yah had prepared to his father David, at the place that David had prepared on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. And so check this out. And he began to build on the second day of the second month in the 4th year of his reign. What does this mean? Wow, when we're looking at day 2 of the second day, I can think and remember, wow, you know what else happened this day in history? Solomon started building the temple, one of the most immaculate temples that the Father had ever had for himself. And he started building it on that day. This is why it's so cool to know these moments in the spring feast. So as we're also celebrating the spring feast, we're remembering all these really cool biblical events that were taking place at the same time. So we know that Solomon was building the temple a couple days, maybe a week or so after Passover, after first fruits and unleavened bread. So this is super cool. So he started building right before, he started building in between Passover and the Feast of Weeks, which is awesome. Awesome to know. Okay, now let's take a look at the 3rd month. This is also a really cool one. Look at that. The pyramids, Egypt. Boo. We didn't like that place. Anyway, the 3rd month, day 1. There's nothing wrong with Egypt. It's just, come on, it's scripture. This is in Ezekiel chapter 31, verse 1 and 2. It says, now it came to pass in the 11th year, in the 3rd month, on the 1st day of the month, 3rd month, 1st day of the month, that the word of Yah came to me, saying, Son of man, say to Pharaoh, who is the king of Egypt, and to his multitude, whom are you like in your greatness? So this is interesting because the Father used Ezekiel to rebuke and correct the king of Egypt, Pharaoh, saying, hey, you're not as cool as you think you are. You're not as tough as you think you are. You're not greater than me. Calm down, buddy. Humble yourself. I'm allowing you to be the Pharaoh of Egypt. Now, this is cool because Ezekiel did this a couple times, even a couple chapters before. But the reason why we're looking at the scripture is because of the date. It's on the 3rd month, the 1st day of the 3rd month. So when we get to the 3rd month, when we are on our way to Shavuot, when we get to that 1st day, we can know, wow, the Father corrected and rebuked Pharaoh on this day. This is just cool to know. These are just some great spring feast moments that we should add to our calendar when the new year begins. That's awesome. So, like I mentioned, I'll be like this guy. As we celebrate Yah's feast, let's remember everything that was going on in Israel during the same time. Right, as we're celebrating Passover or the day before Passover, remember when the Persians ruled and Israel was in exile and Esther was the queen, that Israel was sweating. They were scared during that time. Or as we're counting towards Feast of Weeks, let's remember that this was the same time that the Father used Ezekiel to hold Pharaoh accountable and rebuke him. These are just some cool spring feast moments that we shouldn't forget. We should pay attention to. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I can't wait to see you in the next one. All right, thanks so much for watching today's episode. Again, if you get any value out of this and you want to support this ministry, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any other videos like this. And if you want to support, you can go ahead and purchase some merch in the description below, just not on Shabbat. Or you can go to 144kids.org if you want to join our live Shabbat services every Shabbat morning around 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Other than that, I love you, peace be with you, and shalom. See you in the next one.
Hey, you know what time it is? Time to come back from groups. We're coming back from groups. We're coming back from groups. No more nattering, stop that chattering. We're coming back from groups. We're coming back from groups. Finish your questions and your suggestions. We're coming back from groups. We're coming back from groups. Let's be quick. Austin's yawning. I think he's nearly snoring. We are back from groups. Shabbat shalom.